Hello, welcome back to the series on the Dark Night of the Soul as I go through the Dark Night of the Soul publicly with you. In this video, I want to talk about being on the spiritual path alone. Maybe you don't have a partner, maybe you don't have any friends, and this is really common. This is a really common theme that you will see among people who are entering on a spiritual journey, who are on a spiritual journey. And it's not always the case. There are lots of people on the spiritual journey who do have a community of people, who do have partnerships. I myself am not one of those. I am very grateful for this platform because through this platform, I know that there are many, many other people on the same spiritual journey that I am on. And so what a wonderful time to be alive, where we don't even have to come face to face with others to know this, to know that we're not alone. And I myself don't have a partner, a life partner. I don't have friends. And I want to talk about this. I want to talk about this in case this is also you. And what I've learned is that the reason for this as well, let's start off with that, because it's not that there is something wrong with us, because sometimes we can tend to think that. We can think, well, there must be something wrong with me because I'm not connecting with people. And that's our desire. We do have a desire to connect with people and to connect with people on a deep level. But what is happening is that people who aren't on a spiritual journey, who maybe are not empaths or light workers, tend to really be involved with superficial things that we who are on a spiritual journey are just not interested in. Myself included, this is very common. I am only concerned with my evolvement, my expansion. And I do not like to spend my time thinking about or talking about the latest gossip of the celebrities and who's doing what, and what my neighbors are doing. And it's really, there's a clash even when I hear it. For one, it's not interesting to me. And also I just feel that this isn't helping me with my expansion. This isn't helping me to grow in any way. And actually it is holding me back. So we either don't want to get involved in the conversations that other people are having. You might find yourself at, a barbecue. And even though you're around all these people, this happens to me all the time. I'm like, yes, I'm going to be around people. And then I go to this event and then I feel even more lonely than when I had just come from my home. And that is because there is a disconnect. I realize that I don't want to talk about the things that people are talking about. And one step more, they don't want to talk about the things that I want to talk about. They don't understand it. People may not understand what you're talking about, or they have resistance to it, or they just don't want to talk about what you want to talk about. They don't want to talk about the expansion of your soul, or about, losing the me, losing your identity. These aren't things that they're comfortable with talking about. And so it creates a distance, it creates a barrier. And for a long time, this really made me upset. I really didn't want this to be the case. I wanted to deeply connect with others. I wanted to find someone who we could, when this was happening, I wasn't even so far on the spiritual journey that I am now. And I just wanted to talk about the universe and space and, the possibility of life and on other planets and other not even dimensions at that point, but just other universes, other galaxies. And it was really hard even on that level to find people who wanted to talk about those things. I'm a very intellectual person. So for me, for example, what a fun night will look like is me learning about something. It could be about spirituality, it could be about psychology, it could be about science, you know, nutrition, anything that I'm learning. That's what's fun to me. And sometimes what's fun to me, oftentimes, is to just sit outside in the quiet and do nothing. Just observe nature, look at the sky, look at the grass, have my feet or hands in the dirt. And so it's kind of hard because typically, or what I find, is that this isn't typical. This isn't when you invite someone out and you're like, let's get together and let's stare at the ground together. There's a difference, right? And it isn't that it's right or wrong what you're doing, because those things don't exist really. There is no right or wrong. It's just that we are on a spiritual path. And the spiritual path is something that you go through alone. And while it might be fun to connect with other people and to hear about other people's experiences and to have that energetic connection one-on-one, this is all something that we have to do on our own, going inward. It's an inward process. It isn't something that you work together with another person to do. Your own spiritual evolvement, expansion, takes place solely within yourself. And so for some of us, I think that this serves a purpose, because maybe like myself, I do tend to get easily distracted, and I tend to, especially when it comes to relationships, really put that person first. And it might be just that we are in a place in our spiritual journey or in our lives where we really need to be focused and going inward, and we really need less distractions. But I don't believe that this will be forever. So for me, from my point of view, I don't believe that I will be friendless and without a partner forever. I'm also not tied or really concerned with an outcome. I'm sort of just going with the flow, and things just are. Right now, I don't have a partnership. I sometimes am frustrated about that, and let me know in the comments if you can relate. So specifically, I'll use an example where there's a lot of uncertainty in the world. There's a lot of uncertainty about the economy, inflation, wars, pandemics, right? There's a lot going on. And so there's a lot of things that we can do to prepare for this. And sometimes I get frustrated because I would like to have a partner that could take some of the weight of this responsibility of preparing for certain things off of my shoulders. It would be really nice to have someone who could share this responsibility with me, because even when I'm talking about this with family members or my son's father, who I live with, and we have a wonderful co-parenting relationship. We always have, and that is all we have. And that's fine. But even when I'm talking to him and trying to get him on board with like, hey, there are things that we can do to prepare for this unlikely event. I'm acknowledging that, it's unlikely. It's not like I'm living in fear. It's just like you have a fire extinguisher in your home. It's not that you are living in fear of always a fire, but you're just being prepared in case there is a grease fire or an electric fire. You have something there for you to help that situation. And there are lots of things like that fire hydrant that extinguisher that we can be doing right now or obtaining right now to help us just in the even unlikely situation that something comes up. So sometimes I think, oh wow, it's so frustrating, I have to take this on myself. And so what I would say, if that's happening to you, where you feel like, I really just wish I had someone to have my back. And what I'm realizing is that it's time for you to have your own back. It's time for you to step into the role of responsibility alone and to do this alone. And you can do it. I can do it. You can do it. And it could be that we're just needing to find our strength in ourselves alone. Because if something is happening, it is supposed to be happening. So since I don't have a relationship, a partnership, that is supposed to be happening. And I did have a friend, a long-term friend of 14 plus years, and I entered that relationship because it was not for my benefit. It wasn't helping me expand. It wasn't helping me grow. It was actually hindering those things. And so I had to make a decision to let that go. And that, I think, is the case for many of us. As we go through a spiritual journey, we have to let certain people go. People who are refusing to move out of lower levels of consciousness behavior. And we have to acknowledge that we don't want to be around that behavior. So it's not that we don't have options, we are choosing, right? So that sometimes helps when we acknowledge that we are making a choice. It isn't that we are alone and we can't go out and just make superficial friends and be around people and talk about, whatever it is that people want to talk about, the latest celebrity gossip, or even whatever it is, video games, things like that just don't interest me. If it isn't, I like, nonfiction. I like to learn. I like to grow. I like to hear about people's stories, the psychology of why people behave the way they do. Learning about history, learning about science, learning about the body, learning about nutrition. These are my video games. I understand that people get the same reward feeling from video games that I do from learning. So it isn't that we just are not able to go out and have these types of relationships, it's that we're choosing not to. This isn't fulfilling for us. So we're making a decision that until we find someone who is going to be a fulfilling contributor to our lives, to our expansion, to our growth, and is going to be, this is the biggest thing I found in relationships when I was trying to have relationships with a man, would be that they would dim my light. I would get really excited. I would feel like my light was shining so bright, and they would dim it somehow. Either tell me like, wow, you're too excited, you shouldn't be excited, or, just kind of looking at me like, oh, I just don't get you. So just all these different ways where they would be dimming my light. And so I decided that I definitely wasn't going to be with anyone who was dimming my light. I want to be a torch of light on this world. I want to be lighting other people's lights, helping their lights be brighter, and I want to meet with other people who have the same intention. So if you are alone right now, I believe that this is a time for us to go inward and just allow things to be, and not have a resistance to the fact that we don't have these relationships that we want. I do believe in divine timing. I do believe that everything that is happening is supposed to happen. And so if we can just allow this to be and just enjoy this time as much as possible, go inward, learn what we need to do, keep doing the things that are helping us to grow and expand and evolve, and not worry about that so much. So we do need to listen. So it's true that if we're staying in our house and we're not going out, we're not doing things, we're not going to have opportunities to meet other people. So I'm not saying that you close yourself off from opportunities. So I'm always listening. Like the other day, I really got this urge. I just said, I just need to get out of the house. I need to go do something. And so I went to a restaurant. So listen to yourself, and when you get those pulls, yes, go out into the world. We aren't going to have someone just knock on our door and be like, hey, I'm here to join you in your evolvement on your spiritual journey. So we do need to make sure that we are going outside of our comfort zones at times, but don't get discouraged, or try not to get discouraged if you are unable to connect with people on a deep level. It is impossible to connect with someone on a deep level who is not on a deep level themselves. If they don't have any interest in going below the surface, then it isn't you. It isn't that you, there's something wrong with you. It's just that that's not a possibility to connect with someone on a deep level who is remaining on a surface level. So I believe that everything is going to happen just as it should. Let me know in the comments what is your journey in all of this. Are you finding people to connect with easily on a deeper level? Or are you with the majority of us, I feel, who are having trouble connecting with other people outside of maybe this platform? So let me know in the comments. Please subscribe, please hit the bell, and I will love to connect with you soon. Thank you.